right. Hi. Welcome, everyone. We are today presenting Designing for Virtual Vibrancy, how the Fenway Cultural District is surviving surviving in a pandemic, which I know you all are working on surviving in various ways. And we're proud to be part of the Boston Design Week roster of wonderful events. So thank you for being here with us. I'll just run through all of our panelists, and then I'm actually going to be presenting the very first session. So the panelists that we have with us today are Marie Palladino from the Mary Baker Eddy Library. Marie, you want to raise your hand?
Hi.
She'll be presenting on the One World program for Mary Baker Eddy Library. We have Sarah Batuli and Gavin Klipsey from Massachusetts Historical Society, who will be speaking about a range of really wonderful virtual programming that they're doing during this time, this weird year that we're all experiencing. But it's like they have a lot of wonderful things, and they'll be also talking about some of the new programming they have coming up. And then we have from the Fenway Alliance, Genevieve Day, who will be talking about, she's the assistant director here, she'll be talking about Fenway Porch Fest, which is actually a collaboration of 3 organizations, Fenway Alliance, Fenway CDC, and Fenway Civic Association. And I also want to mention Sarah Rachi, who is our Fenway Alliance Fellow, and she is going to be helping us monitor the whole thing and dealing with the chat aspect. So I want to just run over some of the rules of the session just very briefly, just to let you all know this program will be recorded. And also that please mute yourself. If we could have the audience mute themselves. And if you have questions, if you want to write them in the chat, there'll be time for questions after. You don't need to write your question in the chat. We will leave plenty of time to just take questions, but we will also try to get to all the questions that come up during the chat. With that, did I get everything, Genevieve?
I think so. Sounds
Great.
good.
Great. And I just want to thank our audience for taking the time. I know these Zoom sessions can get wearisome. We hope this will keep you entertained and educated. We try to make these fun and we try to make them brief. So we really will keep to the time of 1 hour. And I want to thank you. You could be doing a lot of other things, we understand. So we really thank you for being with us here today. I'm going to be covering today the Huntington for one of our Fenway Alliance members. As you know, the Fenway Alliance is 21 of the cultural and academic institutions in the Fenway. We are also the managers of the Fenway Cultural District. So when the pandemic hit way back in March, initially, we were just trying to figure out how could we keep placemaking alive during a pandemic where people, we are primarily a gathering organization. So how does one gather virtually if you can't gather in person? I've been amazed by the creativity my members have shown. So I do want to applaud all the 21 members, the academic and the cultural institutions, for the programming they are putting out, and for some of just frankly, the COVID care and service they are giving to the citizens of Boston during this really very difficult time for all of us. But I want to talk about specifically one of the Huntington Theatre's program, which is called Dream Boston. Genevieve, if you want to put
I got it.
Okay, that's okay. If you want to put up the slide.
Yep. There you go.
Can you roll it up a little bit? Can it scroll? Great, because I want them to see the plays. Yeah, great, thank you. So what they decided to do, so how does a theater respond when you can't have people come into your venue? And what they came up with was, I thought, very clever and really interesting. And it's called Dream Boston, and it's a series of mini audio plays. I think the plays don't run more than about 7 minutes at most. They've gotten some of their best playwrights to do these plays. And what they wanted to fashion it on this program on was the old sort of radio programs, back in the old days when people sat around their radios and listened to stories. So they've created that sort of feel for the modern age, and they've done it through some very interesting, sophisticated technology. So you can go and click on any one of these plays, and it will bring you to the audio of the play. And I just want to talk, oh, that's great. Can you leave it there so I can see their names properly? So I want to talk about some of the playwrights they were able to engage in this. Many of you may know of Melinda Lopez. If you don't, she's one of our local and really national treasures by now. She writes amazing, she's done amazing plays for the Huntington Theatre. I've seen many of her plays, but she's also done them nationally. And they asked these playwrights to kind of go to a iconic spot in the greater Boston area and talk about what Boston could look like in the future. So we're looking at future now. And I think there's some value in that, particularly in the time we're in, where it's very hard to stay in the past or to even sometimes stay in the present. So they asked a future Boston, what would it look like? Melinda Lopez went to Concord, and she went to the spot where, it's in the Concord Museum now, it's where the shot heard round the world was at the beginning of the revolution of our country. And if you've ever been to that spot, it's incredibly inspiring, and you feel the full weight of American history when you're there. And she wrote, her spot has to do with what the future of our country will look like in that spot. There's also a way you can actually go, their new aspect of this program is you can actually go to the Concord where the shot heard round the world is, and you can actually listen to the play there, and they have an interactive, they will have soon an interactive map on their website. So I would encourage that, because that is such an amazing spot in greater Boston, and you really feel like you're kind of getting a window into when the country was first founded. Very viscerally, and I'm sure Mass Historic, has even greater detail than I do, but I remember feeling incredibly moved when I went to Concord, and that was even before this play series started. So, I would encourage people to do that. Another playwright they engaged was Brenda Withers, who went to another iconic Boston spot, which was the McKim Library. So we all know our library, but we don't know what the library might bring in the future and what the library will look like, feel like, sound like. And she did a little mini, and I won't give anything away, she did a little mini play on that and at the McKim Library. So that's an easy one if you're a Bostonian to get to, but you can also just sit in the comfort of your living room or kitchen or anywhere and listen to what Brenda Withers has to say about this. One of the other ones I wanted to go over, the Hibernian Hall one with Miranda. Do we have Miranda Jacuez? She went to Hibernian Hall, which is in Roxbury, and it's one of the most beautiful, wonderful restored theaters we have. It's been around for a long time. It sat kind of abandoned for a while, and it's recently come back. But she wanted to think about what would happen if we didn't have Hibernian Hall, where you see a lot of African-American dance performances, plays are showcased there. What would happen if in the future Hibernian Hall was just turned into a fitness center? And I think this is a play that shows some of the issues with gentrification. You could really see this, right, happening in the near future. And what would it mean for that sort of African-American history and culture to be lost? So she talks about that in her short play. There's several others, and I won't go into the detail, but I think if you go to their website, which Genevieve has on the screen, huntingtontheatre.org, Dream Boston, you can just click on these mini, in between work, in between dinner, whatever. They're really simple, easy way to get your culture fix. And I want to thank the Huntington Theatre, and I'm so delighted that I could present this today. So thanks. And I'm now going to pass it over to Marie Palladino, one of my favorite colleagues. She's going to talk about the Mary Baker Eddy Library and the wonderful work they've been doing with their longstanding program, One World. And Marie has been, I think, in that program from the beginning. And so she can really give you a nice overview of that.
Thank you, Kelly. It was really interesting to hear all about what's going on over at Huntington. I'm really excited to tell all of you out there about our One World program and how we have originally designed the program and how it shifted. So I'm just gonna share my screen. So the Mary Baker Eddy Library. So my name is Marie and I work at the Mary Baker Eddy Library in Boston. And at the library, I run educational programs, and I'll get into that in a moment. But the Mary Baker Eddy Library is an archival and research library that opened in 2002, and we are a department of the First Church of Christ Scientists. So, oh, I have this issue. There it is. There's the church, and you may recognize the Christian Science Plaza. The building behind the church, all the way to the right, is the Christian Science Publishing Society, and the library is situated in there. You may also know the library because we are affiliated with, I'll come back to that, the Maparium, which I'll show you a visual of in a moment or two. Yeah. I'm very good at slides, so you'll just see this as I'm going through all my slides today. Sorry about that. Anyway, so again, I work at the library. I'm the head of educational programs. There I am in a teaching moment during one of our programs during February. And then there is my colleague, Jonathan Eder, who's the programs manager. So Jonathan, his role is more, he's in charge of the programming for academic and adult audiences. He has a really great podcast, by the way, that he produces called Seekers and Scholars, which you can learn more about on our website. So he does all those awesome things. And then I'm the head of educational programs. And what that means is I'm managing all the youth, family, and sometimes community programs like Opening Our Doors, for instance. And this is our statement of purpose for educational programming. Educational programming for youth and families at the library reflects the healing mission of the church Mary Baker Eddy founded. It provides inspiring learning experiences that encourage development of an expansive view of the world and humanity and one's potential to make a positive difference. So Jonathan and I wrote that together. And again, as you can see, he runs adult programs, but he's really also into supporting youth programs. So he's my whole team, actually. They're all such a delight to work with. So One World. One World is a summer youth program series, and Kelly is somewhat right. I've been at the library for about 6 years, but the One World program has been there for about 15 years now. And the program is a 2-hour program that takes place over the summer on Tuesday mornings. So it's just 2 hours long, but we do cram a lot into 2 hours. So the program itself has access to the Maparium. So there is Maparium. If you haven't visited it yet, we would really love for you to come visit soon when we're back to new normal and we're reopening. Stay tuned on that. So the One World program is in part inspired, of course, by Mrs. Eddy and her ideas and just the thought behind like kind of global embrace. But also there's a song that we play in the Maparium for children called Big Blue Earth. And a lyric in that song is, I see you, you see me, all one world, one family. And that really is kind of the basis of the idea behind the whole program series. And every week we put on a program that is dedicated to a different country or nation. During the program, aside from the Maparium just being open for 2 hours and you can just walk through, and by the way, this is an entirely free program. We also have a book giveaway. So every week, if you come or if a child comes, they can get a book and stay up on their summer reading. So all the books are connected to the different nations that we do that year. So you can see this year specifically, we had done Egypt, Cabo Verde, Japan. There's an author that came in actually of one of the Cape Verdean books. His name's Ram Barboza, and he's actually signing a book for one of our young learners that's visiting us from College Mount Dorchester. Then we have a cultural performance. You may be wondering how many people actually attend this. It can range anywhere like from 170 to like, sometimes we've had around 500 people. Our capacity really should be around 550 to make it comfortable and safe. But yeah, so we do see a lot of people every week on site. We see those numbers, and we see over 2,000 people throughout the summer at the program series. So we honor different nations. We've done over 20 different nations since I've been there. I think about 25, but you can see we've done Spain in the top left corner, Morocco. We do Wampanoag Nation almost every year. And then Mexico at the bottom, you may recognize Miss Veronica Robles. We also have an art project, or art projects and art activities. We have a whole open area that, you know, kids come, they can choose between 3 or 4 projects to do every week. And we work with cultural educators to make sure that, you know, they're helping us curate the projects so they're really authentic. So for example, at the top left corner, you see the Cornhusk people. That was curated by Kitty Hendricks Miller, who is part of the Wampanoag Nation, a singers and dancers group. She's also a Wampanoag educator. And then at the bottom right corner, we have children making Nowruz goldfish bowls that light up. And that was curated by the Iranian Association of Boston. We have story times. They're very short. Sometimes we see 30 kids, sometimes we have 10 kids, but they're always fun. So we have on the left here Anvu Sawyer, who is the director of the Southeast Asian Coalition for One World Vietnam reading. And then on our right, we have Kirsten Vega reading for One World Mexico. She did a Frida Kahlo theme story time. We have face painting and sing-alongs. So this all takes place within 2 hours. Just it's so people can come and they can kind of pick and choose what they want to do. We make sure that every child that wants their face painted gets their face painted. It happens. So as you can see, it's a very lively program, and we really kind of ran into some big questions as we were moving through figuring out how to reapproach it this summer. We see families, by the way, come in, also children coming from organizations all over Boston in the form of camp groups. This mom up here on the left, she wrote this blog. These are her 2 children at story time and doing art projects and in front of our Maparium wall. And this is a list of a lot of the organizations that we serve around Boston, not all of them, but a good chunk of them. And I really love this photo because you can really see the excitement and engagement during our cultural performance. I think that was One World Brazil maybe, but anyway, so we work with all these groups. But again, we just came up against a lot of core struggles. I think most institutions did, in how to engage our audience. A lot of big questions. So our obvious challenges were, one, just we work with the Department of Early Education and Care, and we wanted to make sure that we were, you know, paying attention to their guidelines, but their guidelines weren't being released to us or to a lot of these organizations that you see listed here. So I'll get to how we kind of worked around that. Another core issue is just the artists. Artists, I mean performers, and how we were going to get them to feel comfortable and ready to perform with us. And I'll get to that too. Another was just marketing and like audience, like how are we going to connect? Are we going to have the same audience this year? We can't have all the children coming in with camps. So what is that going to look like? Are we going to be seeing children from other countries across the country? Now everyone is learning online. Just a lot of big questions that we couldn't have even really thought through at the beginning of the summer. And then also getting resources out to our primary audiences. So you can see here all the children sitting. Each child there gets a book every week. We want to make sure those kids still get books, and they get to do free art projects every week. We want to make sure that they, you know, are able to follow along with us and do those projects still and learn with us. So the first thing that Jonathan and I thought of doing together was putting together an advisory committee. That was kind of like an ad hoc, just not internal, but like just inviting educators from these core organizations to speak with us. I did a lot of like one-on-one calls, and then we set up some meetings too, so they could advise us how to actually formulate the program and what components we should keep and what components probably wouldn't work this year. Probably not face painting was a big, so we didn't do face painting, surprise. But, you know, then we also had to build in some flexibility, and we came up with 3 contingency plans. 3 contingency plans, because we really, again, did not know in March or April when we were developing this, what this was going to look like. So the first contingency plan was online and on site. So seeing, you know, we weren't sure if we were allowed to have people back in eventually. So we made a proposal of potentially having a smaller version of it spread out on site on the plaza and having it filmed and having parts of it online. So that was contingency plan A. We submitted this all at the same time. So we kind of let our board help guide us with this, and we were kind of waiting to see what the state was recommending. Then B was online, but our staff would be on site coordinating it and producing it with the artists as well. And then I hope that's clear. So basically having everyone go in and maybe having a very 10 people or something in the audience and filming it and putting it online, but still having the library atmosphere. And then C was just all from home. So I wonder if any of you out there can guess what we actually went with. C? Yes, all from home. So everybody, including the performance artists, the children, the camp counselors, me, Jonathan, our whole programs team, we were all working from home doing this online once a week, every Tuesday morning. And so with that, we had to do some adaptations. So I'm going to just quickly jump into those. And Kelly, how much more time do I have, just so I know? Ish.
I think, hey Marie, I think you have 5 more minutes.
Oh, great. Just
actually, make that 2 more minutes. Sorry.
Okay. So I'll just quickly go through this and I'll see if my videos work. I don't really need to show a picture of the Maparium again, and we all have it implanted in our minds, but the first thing we tackled and what we kept was the experience in the Maparium you cannot replicate. You just can't. But what we did was we put together a slideshow that kind of instilled like the ideas of the program, the global family, and that love and tolerance and that feel that we want children to experience uniquely as they visit us. So we made a slideshow of the Maparium with different images of the Maparium, with different images from our sister organization, the Christian Science Monitor, a lot of journalistic images from around the world from those countries. We made a slideshow and it was a sing-along to the song Big Blue Earth. So that felt very powerful and kind of checked off the Maparium and checked off our sing-along. Then we had our book giveaway. We decided that we would actually prolong that, and after the summer and the fall, deliver books directly to groups via probably Amazon or one of those online sites. And then cultural performance, as you can see here, we have Joe Camara and his son Timoko, who's performed with us and actually at opening our doors too, many times. And so we're very comfortable with them. We chose all artists and performers that we've worked with before because we thought that the relationship building part would just be, it's a lot of work and it's really important. So we wanted to just work with people we already had relationships with. So Joe and his son Timoko are up left. Over on the right top corner, we have members of New Inca Sun. They're a Peruvian dance group. So we repeated countries. We're used to actually shifting countries except for Wampanoag Nation, but this year we repeated 6 awesome countries, for the exception of Lebanon, but we had worked with that dancer before who worked with us. And then at the bottom, you can see we had One World Vietnam last year. We repeated this year online. So we have the Southeast Asian Coalition. They're presenting their teen lion dance group. And then we had an online story time. So that's Anvu Sawyer again. You might have seen her a few moments ago presenting in our Book Nook doing story time. Now she's doing a virtual story time of the same book, and it worked out really well. And then here I am humbly leading a Vietnamese-inspired art project. We again worked with people from the Southeast Asian Coalition to make sure the projects were, culturally sound and really represented their culture in the way that they felt good about. So here we are making a simplified that Vietnamese water puppet activity. With this, what we did, every week we used the same exact materials, which were like markers and just paper and scissors and just really simple things. And we made templates that you could print out at home. So it was very like simplified 2D projects instead of us having all these crazy art materials, which we are so grateful that we are able to provide to children every year, especially in the Boston Public School community. So that's essentially how we, shifted the program, just to give you guys a sense of what it looked like on the other side of things. This is a family that loves attending our programs. They started a long time ago coming to our Storytime program and had graduated and grown up with us. So they're the Ellis girls, we'll call them. So there is Maya watching me do a Lebanese art project. And then there are the three girls right there dancing along with Amal Simon, our Lebanese dancer for that day. Whew. And if I will try to do this, but it might not work. But can people see this happening in live time? Yes. So this is an example of and I'll end my presentation before I kick it over to Sarah with this quick 20-second video of the girls dancing to the... So, learning at home, there you have it. I'm excited to answer your questions later. And until then, I'm going to kick it over to the fabulous Sarah Bertulli from Mass Historical Society.
Thanks, Marie. Just get my screen up here. So I'm Sarah Bertulli. I am the Public Programs Coordinator at the Massachusetts Historical Society. And I just want to thank the Fenway Alliance for organizing and hosting this event. It's been really great to hear what our Fenway neighbors are working on during these socially distant times. So before I get into more specifics on our virtual events, I do want to give you just a brief background into the Massachusetts Historical Society and the public programs, the work of the Public Programs Department in particular. So the Massachusetts Historical Society was founded in 1791. So it makes us the oldest historical society in the nation. It was established with the intent to collect, preserve, and interpret the records of American life and culture. So we're now a major historical archive, and we hold nearly 14 million manuscript pages, along with other artifacts and objects that tell a comprehensive story of American and Massachusetts history. So we're particularly well known for housing the papers of 3 US presidents, John Quincy Adams, and the personal papers of Thomas Jefferson. And along with being an archive, we're also a research library and a center for historical inquiry, education, and discussion. So the Public Programs Department is comprised of myself and Gavin Cleespies, the Director of Programs, Exhibitions, and Community Partnerships. So as that very long title might suggest, our department oversees the planning and execution of about 60 public programs a year, as well as anywhere from 2 to 3 exhibitions a year. And we also act as a liaison for MHS in the broader community, like events like this. So our programming is geared towards intellectually curious adults and consists of author talks, original panel conversations, programming series designed to really look deeply at a specific historical topic or theme, walking tours, gallery talks, and various special events. So when we were putting together this presentation, we were really thinking about like what the story would be of the MHS going completely virtual. And so I just wanted to frame this with 3 main takeaways for us. First is just the level of flexibility and creativity that the virtual program has afforded us. We are a 229-year-old institution. and have traditionally been very beholden to real constraints when it comes to programming, not least of which is our 1800s building, which was never designed to accommodate large audiences or really audiences in general. So the second is just the enormous increase that we've seen in our audience attendance and engagement, which sort of signals to us that there's so much broader interest in what the work that we've been doing. And because of sort of the more physical constraints, you know, I don't know that we were totally aware of that all the time. So that's really exciting. And then, so somewhat related to the second point is also just the increase in the geographical diversity of our audience and also our speakers. So I'll talk a little bit more. I'll touch upon those last 2 points a little bit later on. But first, I just want to introduce you all to what we've been doing in the last 6 months. So this is just a screenshot of some of our online calendar with some of our program offerings until the end of December. Or mid-December. So since the pandemic hit, we've actually really kept a pace with our usual programming schedule. So we run about 1 to 2 programs, virtual programs a week, and have been since the beginning of April. We had our last in-person program at MHS on March 9th and hosted our first virtual program on April 3rd. So since that first program, our department has run 33 virtual events, and we have about 12 more lined up before the end of the calendar year. So I want to give you a sense of what we've been doing, and I think it's probably better just to show you, and as opposed to telling you. So I made this little mashup video, or my colleague made a little mashup video of some of our webinars to hopefully just give you a taste of what we've been doing. And I just want to note that all of these videos are available, are fully archived on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out the entire thing, I'll give you some more information about where to find those later.
We might be having trouble with the audio.
Sorry, no audio?
Yeah, I think there might be trouble with the audio.
Okay, let me try this just one, sorry.
So what you see happening, and sort of the big point of this story, is that there's a reciprocal relationship between a national archive, which is really what Belknap intended for the MHS, and a national story. The story guides the collection that makes the archive, and then when people go to the archive to see about the past, what they come out with is often a replica of the story that guided the archive to begin with.
And so the suggestion is here by the artist Philip Daw that if women start participating in politics, like they are in this particular scene, not only will the gender hierarchy break down, but so will the racial hierarchy and even the economic system of slavery that she is intending to represent here.
Can you imagine being a kid like that? What is he? 24 or something? Greatest hockey player in the world. Number 4, Bobby Orr.
And there you go. That is, you know, probably the first great true Boston moment on screen.
It portrays Abraham Lincoln with his hand hovering over an enslaved person. This statue not only depicts Abraham Lincoln, but it also depicts a man named Alexander Archer.
One little ditty in the collection is called Tana and Hennehe Cry, or The Rooster and the Cackling of the Hens. So here's a little excerpt, and I think you'll hear the chickens.
Okay, so hopefully that video just gave you a little more sense of what we've been up to, and hopefully you heard it okay. So it's worth noting that we've been really thinking about how we can use a virtual platform to deliver programs that might not be doable in an in-person format. And I'll just give you one quick example of something that is sort of in its early conception phase, but something that we're really excited about. And that is we're trying to organize a series of virtual cooking classes based on recipes found in the MHS collection, some of which are very old and very weird. So pictured here is one of the more famous recipes we have, which is Benjamin Franklin's milk punch recipe from 1763. And I think it's pretty safe to say that no matter what we end up doing, this will make it into one of the videos, even though the main dish may be sort of an ahistorical pairing. So stay tuned for that. And I've made a point to really highlight programming this afternoon, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to let you know about our first fully online exhibition. So the title is Who Counts? A Look at Voter Rights Through Political Cartoons. And it's a really timely and wonderful examination of how political cartoons have long served to provoke public debate by illustrating opinions of the day for the masses. And I won't go into too much detail about the exhibition, but I would just say that it features historical cartoons, but it also features some contemporary cartoons made specifically for this exhibition for the MHS. So that's really interesting, and I would encourage all of you to check it out. And just quickly, again, this is really interesting for us, just looking at our audience trends over the past 6 months. So compared to the same 6-month period in 2019, we've actually increased our audience attendance by a little over 300% since going virtual. And we've seen audience members tune in from as far away as Australia and India, and these people have written to us and said how much they're enjoying our virtual presence. So that's been really exciting. And yeah, really heartening, because we really thought that we would have to work very hard to build a virtual audience for the MHS, but it actually has gone very well. So we're offering all of our virtual programs for free during this time. And again, we have a great slate of programs scheduled until the end of the year. And if you want to check us out, or if you have any questions, please feel free to contact either Gavin or myself. Listed some URLs here for the features I mentioned, which I think will also go in the chat. Yeah, and thank you all for listening. And I think I'm gonna now pass it along to Genevieve.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. That was so interesting. I'm Genevieve Day. I'm the Assistant Director of the Fenway Alliance. I'm here to talk about Fenway Porch Fest 2020 Virtual Edition. But first, let me share my screen. Hold on one second. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that. Okay. Sorry, actually, let me go backwards. Before we get into the 2020 version, I wanted to talk a little bit about Fenway Porch Fest. Fenway Porch Fest is an outdoor free festival. Porch Fest was founded in upstate New York, and it's basically a free outdoor music festival. It happens in neighborhoods, throughout the country, including in neighborhoods throughout Greater Boston. There's a Brookline Porch Fest, Quincy Porch Fest. There's a really great Porch Fest in Jamaica Plain where I live. And Fenway Porch Fest, however, is a little bit different. The Fenway version, it's usually organized, it tends to be organized, Porch Fest, by small business associations or main streets, or even residents get together to put it on. Our Fenway Porch Fest is organized by 3 organizations. The Fenway Civic Association, which is a Fenway residential association, the Fenway CDC, that is a community development corps that runs affordable housing in the Fenway, and the Fenway Alliance. The Fenway there are sort of 3 kind of interesting things about Fenway Porch Fest. It's organized by these 3 nonprofit organizations. We also fundraise every year to actually pay our musicians, which is a little unique. Not all Porch Fests do that. So we fundraise and we pay our musicians. It's not a lot, but it's a stipend for performing. There's also, I don't know if you're familiar with the Fenway neighborhood, there's not a ton of porches in the Fenway neighborhood. So our tagline, which was come up to with Kelly Brilliant, came up with it, is music everywhere, porches optional. So as you can see in the little map, we had last year on a beautiful day in June, we had 36 locations throughout the Fenway. And those locations, really, they range from all the institutions that we partner with, from the MFA to Berklee College of Music to the First Church of Christ Scientists, to all the little restaurants and bars in the West Fen. So like Tiger Mama or Tasty Burger, the Fenway Community Center. So we have locations throughout the Fenway neighborhood, including all along the Muddy River, which kind of bisects the 2 sides of the Fenway. So there's a great location right in the Fenway Victory Gardens. We had 42 volunteers last year. So you can see I put a little picture of them. They were amazing. We spread out all throughout the Fenway. And so we were, during the quarantine, during March, I should say, we were the 3 organizations behind the scenes really well into planning for the 3rd annual Fenway Porch Fest. We were doing a lot of behind the scenes work when the quarantine hit in mid-March. And I would say that we probably kept planning for maybe another month, thinking that by June this would all be over and we could have an in-person gathering. But once we realized that that was not going to happen anytime soon, we came together to really try to think about what we could do to celebrate Fenway Porch Fest, to keep it in the hearts and minds of people, and to support our musicians. So we came up with this idea of creating a really high quality music video celebrating Fenway Porch Fest. At that point, I would say there had been really some very cool synchronous online videos. I don't know if you've seen any. Berklee did some amazing Zoom videos where they were singing the same song, and it was quite moving. We were trying to sort of figure out what we could do to celebrate Porch Fest, to support our musicians, that would be something in line with that, but something a little different with our own spin on it. None of our organizations had ever produced a high quality music video before. And nevertheless, we persisted, and we started planning for this video with a few parameters. We had basically around 3 parameters. So we knew it had to be remote. We were organizing this in the height of the quarantine. So, we were not going out at all, nor were our musicians. All of our musicians were quarantining. So we knew it had to be totally remote. We also wanted it to really celebrate Fenway Porch Fest and give us something that we could use in a virtual setting over the next year as we plan for our an in-person gathering. And then we wanted to pay. We wanted to make sure that we set aside funds to pay our musicians. So let me see. So we went back to our, we had already gotten to the point of organizing the 3rd annual Porch Fest, where a number of the musicians had already, bands and musicians and artists had already signed up to perform. And we have a lot of, in our 3rd year, we had many returning performers. I mean, the musicians loved performing in the Fenway. They get to perform at Berkeley, they get to perform in the Emerald Necklace, they get to perform on the steps of the MFA, and some also on the porch, the beautiful porch at Mass Historic Society. We had some great performances. So we went back to our collaborators and reached out to see who had the capacity and the desire to participate in this music video that we still didn't really know much about. It was sort of, we were, you know, creating this as we were going along. And we came up with, you know, 6 of our great musicians said that they would participate. Red Shades, who is a wonderful Boston hip hop artist. And she's actually up for a number of awards, including Album of the Year at the Boston Music Awards. So you should go vote for her. Just a quick shout out for Red. Red is also an accomplished video producer. And so she came on as both our musician and the video producer. Lanky and the Fens are a local homegrown Fenway band. So David from Lanky and the Fens was able to actually film his portion in the Fens because it was right down the street from where he lives. Eva Sitta is a Berklee College of Music. We're lucky in the Fenway to have so many talented musicians. And she came on as the sound producer and mixer, as well as a musician. Jillian Ann is another Berklee grad, talented singer-songwriter. The awesome JP Honk Band, it's a horn collective based in Jamaica Plain, and the Bill Dwyer Band. So they all came together, and we had a few Zoom meetings, and we collaborated, and we just kind of started to put the plan together. We decided to base the music video on a song by the Stendells from 1966, which is a pretty famous Boston song called Dirty Water. I'm sure you probably have heard the lyrics and the music before. And I did find out that they had never been to Boston before they wrote that song, but it became sort of an iconic Boston song. So we reworked the lyrics to include our beloved Muddy River, which runs, it's sort of the heartbeat of the Fens. So the East and West Fens are on either side, and the Fenway Alliance has a long and storied history of protecting and advocating for that river, which continues to this day as they are on the stage 2 of the rehabilitation of the Muddy River. So I don't want to say too much more because I'm going to play the video. I will say we had to come up with, and I think this was Kelly's idea again, I think we had to come up with something to connect all the videos, all the disparate videos together. So we had sort of the imagery of the Muddy River, we had the song, and then we had seen some really cool videos where they were, you know, dropping things. Oh my gosh, that's my phone. Where they were dropping things through the video and Zooms and people were catching them. So I'll just leave it at that, and I will play the song, and I'll come back for a short time after the song. Hopefully all the sound is good. So here we go with the song. Oh. Can you guys hear the sound?
No.
It's very
Yes.
low in the beginning.
We can hear it.
Okay.
Let me tell you a little story. Let me tell you about my town. Oh, let me tell you a big fat story, baby. Yeah, it's all about my town. Yeah, down by that's why you find me. Students are this and yeah, they're cool people. Well, I love that muddy water. Oh, Fenway, you're my home. Oh, the #1 place. Frustrated people, I mean, they're frustrated. Have to be in all day and night. Oh, that's a shame. But I'm wishing and hoping, oh, that just one step COVID's out of sight. I like to save some time for me and my friends to walk around. Well, I love that muddy water. Oh, Fenway, you're my home. Oh, yeah.
Dirty blood. Fenway, you're my home.
We don't gotta say it, you know when we enter, they call it the Fenway, the muddy river. Winds on our boats, rappers and singers come to the Porch Fest, we will deliver. Yeah, we will deliver. Fenway Porch Fest, the muddy
So, so that was the video that we came up with to celebrate Fenway Porch Fest until we could again gather in person, hopefully for the 4th annual Porch Fest in 2021. And I have to just say, on a personal side note, it was a really awesome, fun, inspiring project to work on with those artists during those early days of the quarantine. So that's all I have. I'll kick it back over to you, Kelly.
Great. I just want to thank you, Genevieve. Nice. I wanted to mention to everyone something with the Zoom translation of the video. The sound and the person's mouth does not sync up completely. In the real video, it does. So if you go on our website, or we'll send you the link of the actual one. It's a much better sound and also a much better synchronization. Those problems don't show in the real one. So I just want to let everyone know that. I think it was something with the Zoom, but I do thank you for showing that. We should open up for questions. Now I want to thank the panelists, all of you did such interesting programs, but we have a couple minutes. So let's open it up for any questions. I think Sarah's going to read questions for us, or am I?
We don't actually have any questions in the chat, but
okay.
if people click on the participants tab, there's an option to raise your hand. So if anybody has any questions now, you can just click the raise hand function and Genevieve should be able to select people to speak.
Well, it looks like we may not have questions. If they come in, we will take them in the last couple minutes. I just I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank Marie Palandino from the Mary Baker Eddy Library. I want to thank Gavin Klipses and Sarah Batuli from Mass Historical Society. And the Huntington Theatre couldn't be with us today, but I do want to thank them providing the content and their fabulous program that I talked about, Dream Boston. Thank you, Sarah, for helping out. And honestly, I just want to thank all the audience who've come in and watched the Zoom today. I really appreciate you attending this. And we thank Boston Design Week for allowing us to present today on Virtual Vibrancy. So thanks. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.